Mhm.
Maybe not.
A little dog always has to bark.
Yeah, I think
What I
could
have.
be. So Tyrone, are we the only 4 here? Will we?
Oh, no, ma'am.
See, I can't. Some people do. Some people hide because I'll hide.
Let me see.
I see Tracy Lee. I think that's
There's
here.
Oh, there you
18
go.
people on with us right now.
Wow. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I'm just
We're
talking
just
away.
talking- I'm sorry. I
Thought it was just
to see who else was on. Okay.
If you go to the top of your screen and kind of
Okay.
hover over it, a menu should drop down and you can go on to participants and it'll tell you every single person that's logged on.
Where it says view.
Just at the very top, it's at the top of your screen. If you just put your mouse up there, you'll get a drop down.
Where it says view options.
Mine didn't
Oh.
say view options. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna.
Mine does, Debbie, mine says view options.
Oh, does it? Is that?
Mhm.
Are you gonna click on it?
Well, I don't know. We're live, so I'm going to wait.
The top right-hand side, you click view, and then you can click the side-by-side gallery.
Somebody say that again, please.
I said it should be at the top right-hand corner. You click view, you'll have a drop-down,
Yes,
and it
Oh,
says
okay.
side-by-side gallery.
got it. Okay.
Side by side gallery. Oh, I see people now. Hi, Tracy.
Hello, how are you?
This is my first Zoom, so I'm sorry. I'm just having fun.
Debbie, do you see at the bottom of your screen where it has participants right there? Do you see at the bottom?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you click on that and see everybody?
Okay.
Wow. Go, girl.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Tyronda, I've got all of our stuff for Monday.
Yes, sir.
So I'll read through all that and I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, that'll be fine with me.
Hey, Tyrone, did you see that message from Wanda Davis?
Yes, I'm working on it now. I'm gonna have to send a message to Garrett.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
It's a little bit more difficult for me to navigate back and forth with just one screen.
You really? I've missed that. Not being at the office.
Hey, Mayor Brown.
Yes.
If everyone is on, I am ready whenever you are. You just need to let Garrett know so he can start the live stream.
I'm ready.
Oh,
I don't know who's on, so I don't see everybody.
me
I think
see.
we've been live since about 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There's Ugly Kenny. I see his head.
Oh, well, I'm poking
say
around
Kenny, how do
somewhere,
you-
Mayor.
Kenny, how do you get your head to shine like that? Mine won't shine like that.
I can't even say Kenny.
We're ready to roll.
I guess,
then.
yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get started. I'll start, with a brief statement here, and it won't take but a few minutes, but just this year's theme on the budget is going to be Build Back Better. That is in keeping with our values that I think we've established here in this city for quite some time. Certainly not going to belabor the point. I'm not going to steal Taranda's thunder, but obviously this is going to be a great budgetary cycle for us, probably one of the better cycles that we've had in probably 35 years. The mayor and I chatted earlier this week about it. I know he's excited about, what's to come, and I think he'll probably share his remarks later on, I guess. But again, we've got, a little bit in this budget for everyone, including, and more importantly, our infrastructure, which is critical to this city. And we certainly know we need those funds in those areas. But I'm not going to, spend a lot more time belaboring the point on this. Taranda, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. And I just want to say one quick note. The city staff has done an excellent job over the past 4 or 5 years at trying to stay within the friendly confines of their finances. And as a result, we clearly feel like that it's now paying off. We see the fruit. We took some pains and some hits early on. But I think now the confidence is clearly in this city, and we have a bit of a headwind behind us, and let's hope for better things to come. With that said, Taranda.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor Brown, Board of Directors, and City Manager Dr. Haskin. This evening, I will present to you a draft of the 2021 city budget. But before we start, I want to take you on a little journey. In order to really appreciate where we are, we have to remember where we came from. This budget has been 5+ years in the making. During the development of the 2017 budget, the city faced several obstacles. We were losing revenue left and right. Sales taxes were at their lowest levels since 2013, and franchise fees were on the decline. All sources of revenue were at their maximum level while expenditures continued to rise. Departments were being asked to cut 8.45% from their ever dwindling budgets, and capital requests were cuss words. But even in the face of adversity, we continue to be forward looking. In 2015, the board adopted a fiscal policy that said the city would maintain at least 60 days of expenditures and fund balance. At this point, we were struggling to get 52 days at fiscal year end 2017. Then in 2016, we instituted a plan that would allow for a 15% increase annually in the by-state contribution, with any greater increase being allocated from fund balance and decreases to be set aside to be used exclusively to offset future contributions. Here we were trying to figure out how to set aside funds for the future while trying to maintain current staffing levels. Once again, we continue to be optimistic and forward-looking. Over the next 5 years, we continue to roll forward. We continue to operate in a conservative manner while providing the best service possible. Here we are walking into the 2021 budget cycle with one of the best budgets I've been able to present to the board of directors. Those policy and plans that seemed crazy at the time have now paid off. In the words of the city manager, the theme of this budget is building back better. Over the past 5 years, that's exactly what we've done. The city's 2021 budget received the GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. We will submit the 2021 budget to be reviewed for this award as well. For 2021, the city has proposed revenue of $29 million and proposed expenditures of $31 million, with a net change in unreserved fund balance of about $3 million. The A&P, TWU, and by-state budgets were not approved at the time the draft version of the budget was prepared. The A&P budget has since been approved by that commission and will be included in the final budget for approval. Sales tax continues to be the city's largest source of revenue at 38%, followed by refuse charges and state turnback. Personnel is the city's largest expenditure at 55.5%, followed by contractual services and capital outlay.
Rhonda, what was that first one you said?
The sales tax or the personnel?
The personnel.
Personnel makes up 55.5% of the city's budget.
Okay.
And that's all funds, not just the city's general fund.
Right.
The general fund is the primary operating fund of the city. The primary revenue sources include property taxes, sales taxes, franchise fees, grants, fees, and other revenues. Funds are discretionary and have very few restrictions. The general fund provides the general operations of the city through administration, finance, city clerk, board of directors, courts, probation, police, fire, agencies, animal shelter, the federal JAG grants. And this year, we were able to add the Stop School Violence grants and the coronavirus supplemental funding. For 2021, general fund expenditures are budgeted at $21 million and revenue is budgeted at $20 million. Revenue has exceeded expenditures 4 out of the past 10 years. Now we're down to the general fund year-end 2020 budget highlights. Expenditure growth is expected to exceed revenue growth. Expenditure growth is at -4.87. Expenditure growth is at 14.13. Expenditures are expected to exceed revenue by 2.1 million. The budget was approved with 1.4 million appropriated from fund balance. $858,000 is allocated from the restricted reserve for loan proceeds for the animal shelter. Expenditures are expected to be over budget by 483,000. An additional 657,000 will need to be allocated for the estimated actual expense in the by-state fund. 2020 actual contribution is 229,000. The additional expense is covered by the overage already paid into the by-state fund. The estimated fund balance at the end of the year is 5.5 million. The general fund restricted reserves for fiscal year end 2019 are state line signal reserve, 30,000, drug seizure reserve, 21,000, fireworks permit reserve, 14,000, JAG grant reserve, 14,000, miscellaneous reserve, 1,500, by-state fund reserve, 394,000, and animal shelter loan proceeds reserve, 859,000. The general fund's largest source of revenue is sales and other taxes at 11 million, followed by franchise fees and general property taxes. General property taxes account for 12% of budget revenue in 2021. A 2.5% increase has been budgeted. Sales and other taxes account for 56% of budget revenue in 2021. A 1.6% increase has been budgeted. 1% of the city's 2.5% tax goes directly to the state as part of the border city exemption. Franchise fees account for 13% of budget revenue in 2021. A 0.6% increase has been budgeted. The police department is the city's general. The police department is the largest department in the city's general fund with an 8.8 million budget, followed by the fire department with 5.9 million, and agencies at 4 million. Personnel continues to be the general fund's largest expenditure at 14.4 million, followed by capital outlay and debt service. The recommendation, and as approved in the fiscal policy, 60 days of expenditure and unrestricted fund balance. Anything less than 60 days causes a cash flow issue. For the general fund, 5.5 million is estimated at year end 2020 and 3.9 million estimated at year end 2021. This is 67 days of expenditures. Now for the general fund budget highlights for fiscal year end 2021. No general fund departments were required to cut expenditures. 2.5% COLA proposed for all employees. Additional personnel was granted. $50,000 for one new kennel tech and to transfer one part-time kennel tech to full-time for the animal shelter. $81,000 for two new equipment operators for the streets department. The by-state contribution decreased by $609,000. This is due to the cumulative overage of $1.7 million and the transfer of inmates to Miller County. $137,000 is budgeted for the by-state reserve. The general fund fiscal year 2021 capital outlay requests are $12,500 for a new copier for finance, $15,000 for 12 desktop computers, $100,000 for 5 camera systems and additional body cameras, $250,000 for 5 fully equipped Ford Explorers, including graphics, all for the police department. The fire department has $35,000 for hydraulic rescue tools, $21,000 for HVAC unit, $12,000 for commercial washer, $45,000 for staff cars, $400,000 for a pumper truck, $125,000 for a brush truck, $75,000 for a fully equipped ACO truck for the animal shelter, $750,000 for drainage improvements, and $232,000 for economic development. After the 2021 budget draft was presented to the board, the courts department requested an additional $2,000 for an Elmo.
For what?
Elmo, after speaking with Ms. Wanda, it's a machine that they can put in the courts that will allow information to be displayed on all the computer screens. If there are any exhibits or anything that's entered, they're able to just provide one copy, and then they use the Elmo machine to provide displayed on a computer screen to everyone else.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The Public Works Fund budget highlights for fiscal year end 2021. They're ending the year with $150,000 in the ending fund balance. The other street projects include drainage improvements, Joy Lane washout, Sanderson Lane, Tennessee Road, East 46th Street, and Jefferson Avenue. The Public Works Fund restricted reserves for fiscal year end 2019 includes $784 for Bramble Park, $375,000 for Refuse and Stormwater Reserve, and $30,000 for Arkansas Texas Boulevard Signal Reserve. Are there any questions? If not, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Haskin.
Well, just real quickly, just to wrap things up, again, I just want to thank, not only the staff, but I also want to commend the board over the past several years and keeping us honest here, making sure that we spend, taxpayer dollars in an efficient, effective, and an appropriate manner so that we also are held accountable for these dollars. So again, with that said, Mayor, you have a few comments you want to make before we wrap things up?
Sure. A couple of things that I do want to reiterate is that I don't know that in my history of keeping up with the city's business, even way before that I became mayor, that I've ever seen such a proactive pro-city budget on behalf of not only the employees of the city, but also the citizens of the city. I'm hoping that, I know that it's premature at this time, but I'm hoping as we get through the budget process and this budget is approved, that we can work with the city staff and make sure that we highlight what we're actually doing in this city for our citizens and for our employees. It's very important to understand that we're dumping $1.3 million just in our police and fire departments, over and above what we spent last year. We're doing things that we need to be doing in public works, which is extremely important to the citizens of this city, and drainage improvements. And I'm hoping that we can start releasing some more details about where these actual projects are going to take place and what they're going to do for our city. But overall, to have our city in the position that it's in right now, and to be able to not only reward our employees, but to also take care of some of our citizens' dire needs. And taking care of things is what I mean is when I look at the budget and I understand, and meeting with our departments on what we plan on doing in public works and things that we have planned to do, they're fixes. They're not Band-Aids. They're actually fixes that we're actually spending this money wisely. And that we can continue, my hope is that we can continue to do things that are necessary to not only fix things, but continue to build the revenues of the city. Because the end result is when you spend the amount of money that we're fixing to spend in personnel, if this budget is approved, those things are compounded issues that won't go away. So next year, when you consider another raise, you're considering money in and over above the $1 million we're giving to our employees this year. So we've got to be able to continue to concentrate, in my opinion, on the revenue sources that the city is taking care of, and being proactive, as Tyranda has been over the last couple of years, in using our reserve funding when times are good, so that knowing down the road when they may not be so good, we have that reserve funding to continue to meet the needs of not only our employees, but our citizens. So I think this is a very conservative budget. I'm hoping that it's going to end up better than what it appears to be. It's certainly in sales tax revenue and things like that. And I don't think that we ought to, my opinion would be not to spend that money, but to continue to reserve that money. But we would also better position us for emergency situations when we have something. So, I think some of the things that just a couple of questions that I had, and I don't know if Christy's on here, but we've dumped a lot of money in the police department, especially in our patrol cars, and kind of where this stands with us as far as if this budget is approved, how many additional vehicles will we need to replace? It looks like the fire department's going to be in great shape with the addition of the vehicle we have here. So as long as we can continue to take care of what we need to today that's within the means of the city, this is certainly a budget that I would be proud of, and a budget that I could support because it's not only taking care of the employees of the city, but it's also addressing some of our very serious infrastructure needs that we have going forward. So I commend the city staff for putting this together, and we just need to figure out a way as directors, in my opinion, to keep supporting this budget so that the money is there when the time rolls around to take care of it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and Dr. Haskins, this is Director Peavy, and Mayor, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I just have just something that I want to ask about. This is concerning our Public Works Director, Tyler. How many employees do we have in our Public Works Department just for our streets and things like that?
In streets, we have about 15.
All right. And so with it looks like you're going to be getting 2 new equipment operators. What does that
Yes,
going
ma'am.
to mean to you and for what you're going to be able to get done with 2 new employees?
Well, we're still not to where what we really need, but the 2 more employees is going to be a massive help. I'll be able to split up crews better, to have multiple crews working. Right now, I've got crews for asphalt, crews for concrete, crews for environmental, that sort of thing. This will enable me to have, say, more than 1 crew in asphalt work or something like that. So we can get double the amount of work done with 2 different crews. Because right now we just don't quite have enough to have 2 separate crews within one of those sections, if that makes sense. We don't have enough supervisors or the qualifications to split them up. But these 2 additional operators will help us split up some of those crews to where we can double the force as far as crew wise goes.
Thank you. And do you know about how many employees are on the Texas side? I don't know if you know that. It just
Oh gosh, I have no idea. A whole lot more than that.
a whole lot more than that. I would think so. Yes. Thank you so much. And congratulations on the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. From what I heard and I've seen, it is very well deserved. And I echo our mayor's sentiments on saying thank you to a top-notch staff. And you certainly have just gone above and beyond to make this very self-explanatory on the increases that we're seeing. And like for infrastructure, after that flood, we heard from so many of our citizens saying, hey, what can you all do to help us with the maintenance of, certain creeks and so forth? And I'm glad that has been heard and that we have put money into addressing these concerns to help this. I'm very, very pleased with that. And also making sure that I'm understanding the police and firemen are going to be getting a 2.5% raise also. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay. And with the lawsuit that the police parity pay has, is that legal to give them that while we are still have a lawsuit against us? Or are we just going to proceed on? Dr. Haskins, how's that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yes, we're going to proceed on. It is business as usual for us as a city. We're not going to sit back and wait until action is taken or whatever. I mean, we're going to move the city forward. That's the mandate that we have, and that's the mandate we're going to continue to operate by.
Okay. All right. And I guess one last statement that I have is that I appreciate being told that when the money is there, we will give raises, and when it is not, we will not.
Correct.
And that is just common sense. That's not robbing Peter to pay Paul like has been done in the past, where we are very short in some departments and it's hard for us to keep up. And I appreciate that. And I hope that our employees are going to appreciate the raise also. Thank you.
Hey,
This Lane
Tyler.
Harris,
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead. I can wait you to get through.
I just thought it would be a good time for Tyler to address a couple of things we talked about this week, that since most of the directors are on the call, and when we get into public works and we start talking about a number of employees for the last few years, when we certainly have been able to use our Department of Corrections to help with a lot of our cleaning up and that type of stuff. And here over the last month or so, those are absolutely not available. And it's all pretty much pandemic related. There are outbreaks in those areas, and that has really hurt us and got us behind. And Tyler's aware of that. He and I have discussed that, but I think it's at least for public knowledge, at least for the board knowledge, as Tyler has tried desperately to do what we could to help supplement that shortage that we have in public work, is simply not available. So Tyler, do you want to comment on that? Or?
Yeah, and So I haven't had not only so we get regional maintenance over at ADC to do a lot of our creek cleaning work and that sort of thing. Normally we get about 30 of those guys, and we haven't had them. Well, we haven't had 30 pretty much all year since March, since this pandemic started, because they shut the prison down over there. They stopped bringing in prisoners from across the state. So we've only had about 5 of those guys when we can actually get them. Not only that, but for the last month, we haven't been able to get any of those regional maintenance guys, nor have we been able to get our full-time ADC employees because of they're on lockdown over there under quarantine now. And I received word today to not expect them back for at least another month, and it would not surprise me a single bit if I don't see them the rest of the year. So that's really hurting us.
Right. I just thought that'd be worth bringing out, that we've not, because you haven't worked on that. We've done everything we could try to get them. They're simply not available.
That's right.
Hey, Director Harris.
Okay, well, I was going to relate to some of that should we somewhat try to lean away from prison labor, because we seeing the repercussion of dealing with too much prison labor. I don't have a problem with having some, but right now, when you rely too much on prison labor, it like to me when they when you got somebody else that when they control them when they come to work, that's kind of putting a damper on what could be done in our city, in our town, and in our ward. So that's why I would try to get away or relying too much on prison labor. And then my other information I was going to request. I know that information tech is not being filled lately, and down there at City Hall of Public Works. So if that's where you plan on getting the 2 extra employee from not filling that job, because I know that job haven't been filled since he retired. Then my other question is, I know I've been emailing you, Tyler, and the city manager about area flooding that's been going on in the ward, and I just wanted to just make sure you did get those emails. I'm going to just list the place, because when you get up and talk about that, I just want to make sure that the public is aware that I have let you know about these areas concerned of flooding, and see how you going to address those, like at Jones Creek near Pinehurst, all the way up to Highway 71, and that's also along Seaver Street. Then also, I just recently emailed you over there by Cherry Street, and that's north of Graham Street. I just emailed you about that. I guess about 3 or 4 days ago. Then I've been emailing you about around Kelso Street, but I think that probably could be fixed with the public work going in there with a backhoe and cleaning that, making that wider out, which is going through the back of somebody's property, which going all the way around to that. And I think that could be really bizarre. We sit with a backhoe to work. Then about 815 Ash, I know the guy, he came online. He came at the board meeting. He spoke while we on Zoom. He just spoke about this on 815 Ash. And I still want to know what you plan on doing about that. And also, I don't want to forget about over there on Beach Street too. So I just want to make sure when you address the board later on about these areas, I just want to let you know that, and let the public know that these areas concerned have been brought up to you, even though I had not got a response back from you through the email saying that you received those emails. And that's all I had to say.
Just real quickly, Mayor, certainly I think most of the community is aware we take requests on a first come, first served basis. So, and I think the issue regarding our help with the prisoners has certainly, I think, already been addressed. But I do agree with the comments regarding, building things back, but we want to do it better this time around. And that goes to the theme of this budget, when we're talking about potentially adding additional staff to the street department crew. So those comments are really important, and we're certainly trying to address those. But as Director Peavy mentioned earlier, we want to do it in a way that makes financial sense, that's conservative and certainly holding to the values of this city.
Does anybody have anything else to add? Tyronda, do you have anything?
No, sir, I don't.
He never said he did it.
All right. Hearing none, what will be the process, Tyronda, just for board's information on the process for submitting the budget approval in December,
Actually, if
November?
the budget is actually ready to go at this point, and I'm fine with submitting it for approval, as long as I have direction from the city manager for approval at the next board meeting.
Yeah, that would be
Mayor.
November 1st.
Oh, Mayor, I would like to find out what is Tyler planning on doing about the drainage issue. I haven't heard him really address these issues. You know, what are those issues and how he planning on addressing about the creeks and stuff. I haven't heard that yet. I would like to hear that before approving any budget.
Tyler, can you get Director Harris a list of those? We have 750,000 in the budget. You have some money in your regular budget. Can we get a list of what those? I know we have some projects listed in the budget on Sanderson Lane and Tennessee Road, but can you get a list to email to Director Harris that pertains to what specifically we're going to be doing on those drainage improvements between now and the next board meeting?
Yeah, I think Nix Creek is certainly one that I know that we're going to look at certainly next year, setting that $750,000 aside. We're going to certainly use some of those resources to be able to try and tackle that. I know that's been a source of issues of late, certainly dogging the city for quite some time. So we look forward to addressing that sooner rather than later. And certainly that $750,000 will go toward tackling that issue.
Mayor, I would like to find out what part of town you talking about Nick Creek, you know, because Nick Creek is throughout all parts of town, you know. So what part and what are you planning on doing to Nick Creek, you know? That's what I'm trying to give more concrete information as to where, what, and when, and how much money you plan on spending in that area, where you planning on spending, and what is it planning on fixing.
There's a lot of work to be done to determine that. And unfortunately, I don't have the time to do that myself. So I'm going to have to hire outside engineers to help me with that. So there's a lot of studying of that creek that needs to be done before any of that's able to be released. But certainly we'll start at the furthest point downstream and work our way up with those improvements. If you start upstream with those improvements, you're possibly hurting the communities further downstream because if you open up that creek upstream and it hits a bottleneck downstream, you're looking at more flooding there. So you start downstream and work your way up. But also, I can't tell you exactly what areas we're looking at because there's a lot of studying that's a lot of work that's going to have to go into it before we even know that.
This is Director Peavy, and thank you for that, Tyler. Am I remembering something about Texarkana, a lot of it being built in a floodplain, or am I dreaming that up? Dr. Haskins, have you heard that?
No, you're not. And that's one of the downsides to the city that we have. I mean, you're looking at a large percentage of this city that is basically built in a floodplain. And it just makes it very, very challenging for any public works department or any city to try to mitigate that, especially when you have this unprecedented rain that we've received over the past several months. It just will not stop. But that's kind of where we are. It's a very good question, Director Peavy. Thank you.
What I'm hearing you say
That's right.
What I'm hearing you say is it's not just relegated to just one certain area of Texarkana.
Oh, no.
More broader
no,
than that.
absolutely not.
Floodplain.
Absolutely.
We're talking widespread.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Barbara Minor, and in our budget study, page 133 has a list. It's a place to start. If Director Harris wants to see that list, it's page 133 in our booklet. So, it doesn't say where you start and where you stop, but at least it's a beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's probably the north side of the town, if I bet you.
Probably what? No side of town.
north side of this, of the town.
Oh,
And
I
let me
don't think
set on
so.
record that I resent that implication.
I do too.
I wasn't
Grim
talking to you,
Street.
Miss Director Peavy. I was making a comment. I didn't call your name or say your area where you.
I think that
I just said north of town.
I think that in due time, the information, I think the most important aspect of this budget is we are implementing over $1 million in the Public Works Department. We have to trust that the Public Works Department can utilize that funding. This is not
Sure.
something we've been able to do in the past. And
That's
as these
good.
projects go forward that are going to be months ahead of where we're at right now, that as I indicated in the conversations I've had with Public Works and with Kenny, these things need to be fixed. They don't need to be patched. And there are
Right.
engineer studies and things that need to be done to make sure with where these major issues are as far as our money can go. And then year after year, we continue to repair those. We have to rely on Public Works to get us that information. To me, this has nothing to do with whether I'm going to support the budget or not. I'm supporting the money to be in there, trusting the Public Works Department to fix where our major concerns are and move from there. So having said that, are there any other issues, concerns? All right. Thank you, Kenny, Tyranda. Anything else we need to cover before we adjourn the workshop?
Yes, sir. I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right. Thank you all, and we're adjourned.